All right, hello, beautiful souls. Perfect time to start recording with a lot of noise in the background, so I'm sorry. I'm going to separate the weekly horoscope with the weekly tarot readings. I'm going to attempt to do all 12 signs for tarot readings because that was what I wanted to do when I restarted this channel, but with work and everything being crazy. Anyway, we're going to talk about the astrology in this video, and there's a lot to unpack, especially because we have that eclipse on Friday. But Monday, I think it's a beautiful day. Even though Venus is retrograde, we do have that Venus-Mercury conjunction making a trine over to the Leo moon. It's a wonderful day to get some creative projects started or to kind of put the time and the love and the energy into a creative project, something that you are trying to make more beautiful, right? This is Venus, something that you're trying to bring life to, something you've been thinking about doing, maybe communicating it outside of yourself, like saying, hey, so I've been thinking about doing this, that, and a third, or A, B, and C, and this way and that way, and maybe coming up with the plan for it, coming up with the details for it. It feels like a very good motivating day, right? It's the kind of day where you're like, I'm gonna finally start hitting up the gym, you know? I'm going to finally start making myself a priority. And I think on Monday we will feel like us as individual people, we're going to want to honor that very, very, very well. Very well. Oh my goodness, I can speak. But also the sun is getting closer and closer to that conjunction with Saturn, okay? Which happens on Tuesday. Well, technically, actually, let me see before. Yeah. More exact on Wednesday, so let me back up. But it is getting closer and closer on Tuesday as well. Still have that conjunction with Neptune in the North Node. Just remember that, right? So obviously Neptune's in opposition to the South Node, excuse me. But also on this day, we have that square between the Moon and Uranus and a quincunx with the Moon and the Sun, which I think it's always interesting, right? Because you have that energy of wanting to create the here's the words. This is an interesting analogy that my guides are giving me. It's like when tectonic plates are shifting, right? That's Tuesday. Which means foundations might be shifted a little bit in a good way, right? Because we need to look at what rules need to be broken. On Tuesday, I think we're going to start thinking about that. We're going to look at what no longer works, right? Just because something has been done for so long doesn't mean that it should be always done in that certain way. That's what Saturn and Uranus kind of teach us, to the fact that they're both fighting, in a way, the moon. It's kind of like, and then even the sun is doing that, right? That individuality, because you have that sun and Saturn together. So it's kind of like going through a tectonic shift within the identity of the self. So again, remember on Monday we were feeling ourselves. We were feeling really good. We wanted to do things for ourselves, and then on Tuesday we're kind of like making sure within ourselves that what we know we deserve, we feel that we deserve it, because sometimes we know that we deserve something, but we don't feel like we deserve it, right? So on Tuesday that shift might happen where we stop trying to follow the crowd, so to speak, and start to honor that individuality and that uniqueness. Again, on Wednesday, here's that conjunction with the Sun and Saturn. Now, I could probably do a whole video on that, especially because this is when the Moon ingresses into Virgo, okay? So now we're moving into that eclipse energy of that sign that we're going to have on Friday. So at the same time that we have this exact conjunction between Saturn and the Sun, in Pisces, again, this is Pisces season, okay? We can get, we can feel really connected to spirituality, and we can feel really connected to all versions of ourselves, but we can also get lost to all versions of ourselves. It's really about the self this week, and it really is. That's kind of the theme that I'm seeing playing out, and I'll look more deeply into, I swear, I promise, I will release a video specifically for this eclipse. I know I said that for that new moon in Pisces, and then I didn't, but I will do this for this full moon in Virgo eclipse. So Wednesday with Sun conjunct Saturn. Listen, I had to pause because that it popped up that there was doing some. This is a new computer, so this is like the second time I've opened up Solarfire, so some files were downloading. But anyway, maybe we will use that sort of analogy, right? Like a computer downloading files to rewire the software, the hardware, to kind of to have a new set of rules, right, that the computer needs in order to function properly. That's kind of like a Sun conjunct Saturn, all right? Because we become more self-disciplined. We become a much more mature version of ourselves. We feel stronger in our foundation. We feel stronger in our stability, which kind of feels like almost complete opposite of Tuesday. But the thing is, it's not that we don't feel strong on Tuesday. It's, again, that tectonic shift that we talked about kind of lays the ground for the solid ground that we might feel and see on Wednesday. We're going to see it. It's going to be illuminated. All right? It's going to be obvious. It's not going to be something that hides in the shadow. Even though Pisces energy wants to do that a little bit, and this Neptune energy wants to do that a little bit, it won't be so inconspicuous. It won't be so hard to see. It will be obvious to see. So the Sun conjunct Saturn, we get really serious about our lives during this period. All right? We get really of the year, right? We get really we feel very headstrong, I guess, is a good word to use. Nothing can really take us down, which kind of is amplified by the Venus retrograde in Aries. And then Mercury, obviously, in Aries. And, of course, Chiron is still in Aries. Remember, right? We've been talking about that. Well, not on this channel. But Mars is now fully direct in Cancer. It's finally going to start moving forward out of that energy for that Aryan influence. So Thursday, the moon is just getting bombarded at this point. She's getting hit from a lot of different places, again, right before that eclipse that we're going to see on Friday. So keep that in mind, right? And for that eclipse, she's going to get hit with all that stuff because Saturn is still technically in the conjunction with the Sun. I should say the Sun is still technically in conjunction with Saturn. And then Mercury and Venus are still conjunct. And then all of that in the middle with Neptune and the North Node. You kind of look at it as, we call this, well, actually not, technically not with everything else. But if you just look at it like this way, in opposition to this eclipse, this Virgo moon is kind of holding the whole world. All right. It's almost like, and it's all the big guys, you know? This moon is getting hit by Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. There's nothing really going on as far as aspects go with Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. So it's all the outwards planets. So even like taking that on another level, I think I want to talk more about it in the specific video for this eclipse. But it's almost like the older gods, you know? That part of our psyche is going to be getting triggered with this eclipse. And it's very eye-awakening to our subconscious. So in a weird way, and we're not supposed to be aware of the subconscious, right? That's why it's called the subconscious and the unconscious. We're not supposed to be aware of it, but we are allowed to be aware of it if we seek it. And I think we're going to be seeking it with this eclipse. But again, I'll talk more about it in the video specifically. Saturday, funny enough, now that she's had all that bullshit with Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, and Pluto, now she's going to have some bullshit with Mercury and Venus and Jupiter. But I think that trine with Jupiter might help a little bit ease up the tension that she's going to feel with Venus and Mercury in opposition to her. I'm talking about the moon. I should say that first. But now it's in Libra, so even though we want to feel that kind of push and pull, it will naturally be balanced, right, in Libra. Here's the thing, the last big thing this week is that Mercury stations is going to, well, technically, it stations retrograde on Saturday, but then it goes retrograde on Sunday officially. So Mercury and Venus are now retrograde at the same time. again, kind of all revolving this eclipse, this Virgo eclipse. And on the day that Mercury is officially retrograde, the moon is conjunct Lilith. And I think we can't ignore that. Making a quincunx again, having issues with Saturn and Uranus. Because Saturn wants limitations. Saturn is strict. Saturn is this, it's my way or the highway. Where Uranus is like, I want to go crazy. I want to shake shit up, and I want to. I'm not conforming. Nonconformity is my conformity. That's Uranus. It's very almost yin and yang, and so the fact that it's Libra, I just love how the stars and astrology are just so. There's a lot of synchronicities, right? And it's very ironic in a way. And on Sunday, I mean, I could talk so much about it. I don't want to make these videos so long, but it's almost like poetic justice. There's a poetic meaning for sure, which is a great word because Pisces is a poet archetype. And don't be surprised. Let me just say this week, because it's such a heavy week as far as aspects go, don't be surprised if shit changes in your life. Just don't. I know I say that with a lot of moons, and especially eclipses, but don't be surprised if you actually see it. And you will realize that it's that kind of change that came from the man in the mirror. It's a kite aspect. I'm looking. It's a fucking kite aspect. With Neptune, with Venus and Mercury, and then... No, it is. It's Neptune in the North Node with Pluto, Uranus, and the South Node. Anyway, I had a squirrel moment there because it's just... The astrology, the stars are definitely making a dance. The gods are making a dance this week. You can even see it in the sky, actually, for the last week and a half or so. That there was conjunction and seeing them like all in a row in the sky was kind of pretty to look at. But anyway, the point of this week is to not be afraid of change, not be afraid to get your hands dirty, to roll up your sleeves, because this is Saturn. That's kind of leading, I think, the charge here. I can't ignore that. I feel like Saturn has been the biggest, it's the biggest lesson, especially on Wednesday, that we're going to get. And Saturn is here to teach some lessons about growing up. These are growing pains. And maybe that's what I will title the video. For this week, we're going to be going through some spiritual growing pains. So, I hope this helped. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.